Nowadays, we're used to everything being ultra customized and tailor-made for us. Your YouTube landing page is unique because it reflects your unique interests and history. You want to watch a show, you don't have to tune in when it airs. You can get what you want, where and when you want it. You live in a world of one size fits you, but your learners live in that world as well, and when you make an e-learning program, you usually have to use a one size fits all approach. You don't have time to make custom programs for a huge variety of learners. So even if your training is top notch, you're starting with a strike against you because you're forcing everyone through the same rigid experience. And it's one of the reasons why learners will just speed click through your hard work. So today I want to show you some easy tweaks you can use to provide learners with that autonomy they're expecting, even if you don't have a lot of time and budget. And if you want to create amazing training but you're struggling under tons of constraints, helping you gamify your training easily is my life's work. I'd love to help you, so reach out at the link below. Now let's dive in. Research consistently shows that autonomy is a critical factor in motivation and engagement. It's one of the 3 pillars of self-determination. When learners are given the power to make choices in e-learning, they're more invested and they achieve better outcomes. And if you're thinking, I'm already struggling to create content, how can I possibly add more options? Remember that it's not about more. It's about restructuring what you already have to give meaningful choices within a structured framework. So the first tactics I want to look at are the ones that borrow from the very structure of games. When you look at a standard linear learning path, it's usually organized like that because each lesson is a prerequisite for the ones that come after. But if you look at it more closely, you can usually identify some groups of topics that can be done in any order. For example, in this learning path about air quality, we have 4 lessons about the tests you can use to measure pollution. You need to know all 4 in order to move on, but you can learn them in any order. Whenever I find a group like this, I like to make it into a sandbox. The learner has to finish all 4, but they get to choose the order. And if you look at a linear course you're making right now, I bet you can find more than one potential sandbox. Games also offer side quests, which are optional challenges that unlock extra rewards, and learners have the choice to do those or not. You can use them for extra fun facts or for content that's useful but not essential to your training's ultimate goal. You place these side quests somewhere in the path where the learner's done all the prerequisites to be able to attempt them, or you can separate them completely from the path and use them as bonus missions or rolling goals. Rolling goals are super engaging, and if you want to know more about them, I have a whole video about it which I encourage you to check out. And sometimes when your content allows it, you can give the learner more than one way to get to the goal with parallel paths. In this case, they only have to complete one of these branches of their choice to complete the course. All these ingredients are like Lego blocks that you can use to structure your training, and when you do that, 2 things happen. The learner will have multiple simultaneous goals going on at the same time. There's a path here, a sandbox here, a bonus mission here, and they can work on whatever they're in the mood for at any given moment. So if I'm getting tired of one type of lesson, I can jump to something else and keep making progress. This really helps fight content fatigue, and it makes the training more engaging. But it also makes the training more effective because you use these ingredients to structure the course in a way that mimics the structure of your content itself, and that makes the internal logic of your content much clearer to the learner, and it helps with retention. So that's structure. Now let's look at what we can do inside the lessons themselves. The way we introduce new information in my framework is we let you figure it out. For example, instead of teaching you that this is a tarsier and then asking you to name it later, I might start by asking you to pick it out of this group right away. You'll figure it out even if you've never seen a tarsier before because you know all the other animals. This is the most basic example of an active teaching tactic. Check out my program if you want more. But now it's the learner's progress that's moving them forward, not just the fact that the slide is over and they can now click next. In the practice phase, you can provide hints or do-overs that the learner can use at their discretion. You can say your ultimate goal is to get a score of 80% without using a single hint. Each learner will practice as much as they need with hints until they finally choose to attempt the challenge without any hints. The beauty of this is that you're not putting all the learners through the same repeated cycles of practice. Everyone does what they need to do to feel comfortable to attempt the final goal. Plus, when they pass, you can let them choose to do it again and try to beat their score or move on. If your learning objective requires practice, like speed typing, you'll provide extra incentives for replaying and beating their score. But once they've passed, it's up to them to improve some more or to move on. So that's some of what we can do with the teaching itself, which leaves us the motivational mechanics. Whenever you have a sandbox, you can tack a collection to it. Each lesson provides one collectible, and when the collection is done, the learner can move on. But you can also do that with side quests or bonus missions too. The learner decides what they want to work towards, and that's giving them different ways of approaching your content. And when they do earn a bonus, like say a power-up, you can let them choose their reward. Maybe they decide if they get a hint, which they can use on a later challenge, or a do-over. Power-ups are some of the most engaging mechanics for learners to hoard, but they're also chock full of meaningful choices that impact learning outcomes. If I have a hint, I choose where and when to use it, which requires me to think strategically about my strengths and weaknesses. So we're making them think about how much they know, and that makes them engage more deeply with the material. Another way to use motivational mechanics is simply to have an in-game economy where the learner can earn and spend points, not on real rewards, but on unlocking some of the non-essential content or power-ups or even extra learning paths. Implementing autonomy in your training not only makes your job easier, but you're also helping the learner follow their own drive moment to moment. That helps fight dips in motivation, and it prevents topic burnout. Learners can focus on what's most relevant to them, which makes the training more effective. You're also helping them take responsibility for their own training. You're showing them trust and respect, like they have a meaningful say, and it helps them develop more confidence with the topic. That's important because they're more likely to try to solve a problem in real life when they've been given the keys to try things in the training. It also helps them be more independent, like they don't need constant external validation and handholding. And finally, when you give learners choices, you can also get some powerful data about what people are choosing to do, and that can help you decide where to invest your effort in later programs. But there are also some pitfalls to avoid. For one thing, too much choice can be overwhelming for the learner if you're not careful, so you want to make sure that you balance some choice with some guidance. I never start a program by giving a lot of choices, for example. I keep the learners active during the tutorials, but they have a lot more guidance early on, and then I open it up. Also, you don't want to offer decisions for decision's sake, like allowing the learner to customize an avatar. That's just a cosmetic choice that's pretty meaningless, and it might give learners a way to procrastinate. And instead of using what you're already building, it forces you to develop more stuff, which isn't what we want. Make sure the choices you give the learner are meaningful. And you want to forgive errors, meaning they have to be able to take their choices back whenever possible. So if I started down this path and I don't like it, there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to explore and see if this one is better suited for me. And I want to be super clear, choices give the learner some freedom in how they achieve the goal, but it doesn't give them freedom from goals. In the end, whatever path they take has to lead them to meeting the learning objective. All final challenges have to meet the same standard. So I've given you a lot of different tactics that you can use at various levels in your program. Remember that you can start small, just apply a little bit where you can and build from there. These strategies are there to help the learner, but they'll also make your job more fulfilling and impactful. And if you want to dig deeper into that, check out the Effective Gamification Framework. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.